Welcome to California in Focus. I'm David Mastio, and today we're talking about the mystery of California's disappearing roads. Joining me today is Kenneth Schrupp, California reporter for the Center Square. Kenneth, so tell me about these disappearing roads.
Hey, David. California's roads seem to be disappearing fast, with 65% of roads appearing to have disappeared from the state's monitoring system that they submit to the federal government. At the same time, road quality, or number of roads that are deemed acceptable according to Federal Highway Administration standards, have increased 53% as the number of roads has declined 65%, suggesting, well, we just might have stopped measuring the bad roads.
That's a very serious charge to make against the government of California. How hard did you try and find out why these roads were disappearing?
Well, I contacted the governor's office because this decline seems to have started when Newsom took office. Jerry Brown, the Democratic governor before, had a very consistent measurement, 55,000 miles of road a year. First year Newsom took office, it declined by 15,000 miles. Second year, there's another 14,000. 2021, there just wasn't anything measured at all. 2022, there's another 6,000 gone. So it's just been this steady decline. Meanwhile, we went from having 49.6% of roads acceptable in 2015 to 76% acceptable in 2020. I don't feel like California's roads have improved by over 50%, given what I experience every day driving on potholes, wearing out my suspension. So I first emailed the governor's office, but they referred me to the California Department of Transportation, also known as Caltrans. They said that they don't submit road data to the federal government. So they said, go ask the federal government where they got this information from. So I asked the U.S. Department of Transportation's Bureau of Transportation Statistics, which publishes this data, okay, well, why is there this discrepancy and this change? What's happening? The librarian for the BTS then checked with BTS experts, who then suggested that the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Highway Administration would know. The FHWA was contacted by BTS on my behalf. FHWA told them Caltrans submits highway performance monitoring system data annually to them, and that they would get in contact with Caltrans's HPMS data coach, but they were not able to get in contact with that person, leading them to go back to BTS, who went back to me to say, the states are the ultimate collectors and providers of the data. And they said, go back to Caltrans, because that's where the data actually comes from. So I went back to Caltrans, and they told me, well, conditions can mean that the measured roadway can vary year to year depending on the pavement. Maybe there's some construction. Maybe there's changes in how the collection van is driving. There are a lot of changes that could result in annual variation, but, steady decline over time of about 30,000 miles total, that doesn't seem like just variation. So I went back and I looked at all of the other states to see if there was some kind of change in federal reporting requirements that I would see in other states, right? So if there's a federal change, you would see this data come up all across the country. What you find is other states are kind of all over the place. Some of them super consistent with what they measure. For example, Alabama has been super consistent. Alaska is a state where they started measuring, it seems like they've been building more roads and measuring more roads over time. So that number is increasing over time. And then I looked, a state like Arkansas has kind of a similar problem to California, where the roadways measured is just shrinking. So I went back to Caltrans again, and I was like, look, I looked at other states. Other states aren't seeing a total decline. There is some variation, of course, but it seems like the data is coming from you. So what's happening? They said they had a team search the Caltrans database for days, but could not find the numbers that the federal government is showing on their website for road condition data in California, which is really concerning, because then who is sending this data to the federal government? It seems like no one knows, and everyone's just pointing fingers at someone else.
And this isn't just some random data. It's federal statistics like this that are used for distributing and targeting federal highway money. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I believe there is some aspect of federal highway funding that is partly determined by these statistics. What's also important is that these numbers show this data is really important because it's a scorecard for how the state is spending its limited road funding. Road funding comes from state taxes on gasoline. If we can't see the performance of our road quality over time, then we don't really know if our gas taxes are being put to good use or not. This is very important for a state like California that has the highest gas taxes in the country.
So this is going to have to be a to be continued. I guess we're going to have to go back to the governor's office and say, so this is what we found. Are you satisfied with this being the answer? We don't know where this data is coming from. And will they look into it?
Yeah, we can hope so. I have a few contacts lined up for a deeper investigation of this, and I'm hoping we're going to have some answers for you soon.
Thank you for joining us today, Kenneth. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.